Welcome to the Cardboard Crash Course. My name's Ethan, and today we're going to learn how to play AZUL, a 2 to 4 player game about laying tiles to create the most beautiful piece of works for a Portuguese royal palace. Let's learn the setup and the general turn structure so we can fully understand how to play this wonderful game. Let's get right into it. Firstly, we'll give each player a player board. They come on both a colored tile side as well as a gray tile side. We'll be using the colored tile for our first game, and we'll be setting up a game for 2 players. So we'll grab 2 and give 1 to each player. Next, we'll place a black scoring marker on the 0 space of each victory point track. This victory point track will be how the players win the game, as the person with the most victory points at the end of the game wins. Next, we'll place the factory displays in between the players. We'll use more for a 3 to 4 player game, but for a 2-player game, only 5 are necessary. Next, we'll fill the bag with 20 of each tile color. 100 tiles in total. The player who most recently visited Portugal may take the first player tile marker. Finally, the first player will fill each factory display with 4 tiles each, randomly from the bag. At this point, we're ready to start playing AZUL. The first player will take the first player marker and set it in the middle of the table, in between all the factory displays, and then take the first turn. From there, play will continue clockwise, in this case, going back and forth between the 2 players. The game ends once one player has a full horizontal line on their board of tiles, which I'll explain how to do now. When it reaches your turn, you have 2 possible options to take. Either take all of the same color from one single factory display and add it to your board, and then move the rest of the tiles from that factory display to the center of the table with the first player marker. Or you may take all of the same color from the center of the table, including the starting player marker if it's still there, and add those to your board, leaving the rest as they are. When you take tiles, you must place them on any of the 5 pattern lines on the left side of your board. I can place these in any one of the open spots here. If a tile pattern line already had tiles of a different color, I could not add to that same pattern line. Though, if a pattern line already had tiles of the same color, I can continue to add to that pattern line if possible. If I take tiles and attempt to play them to a pattern line of the same color, it is still legal if I do not have enough tile spaces as the tiles that I take. Though, when I place them here, I cannot place this last one, and this must fall to the floor. This floor number indicates the amount of victory points I'll lose at the end of the scoring round. Falling to the floor also occurs when taking the starting player marker, as we'll place this in the floor line as well. Once all the spaces in a given pattern line are filled, that pattern line is considered complete and will be scoring at the end of this scoring round. This phase of the round ends immediately when the center of the table and all factory displays contain no more tiles. Now we'll run through the scoring wall tiling phase. We'll move from top to bottom of the pattern lines, moving them over to our tiling area. We'll move the rightmost tile of any complete lines over and score those immediately. Starting off with this top one, it only has 1 to become complete, so we can move over the rightmost slot into this tiling area. If there's no tiles directly adjacent, we'll move our scoring marker up 1 point. Then we'll move on to the next tile line, moving the rightmost over if it's complete. If this new tile placed has any adjacencies vertically or horizontally, we'll count those points instead. Because it has none horizontally, it won't score any points this way, but because it makes up a vertical line of 2, we'll score 2 points for this placement instead. And finally, moving on to our third complete pattern line, we'll move it over here. Because this has no adjacencies vertically or horizontally, we'll score 1 point for this one as well. Finally, we'll have to count how many tiles fell to the floor, including the first player tile. Because I had 2 tiles count to the floor, it will be -1 plus -1, which gives us a total of -2 points for the round. That's pretty unfortunate. These are cumulative, so keep in mind that if we had 4, it would be -1, 2, 4, 6 points in total. Ouch! Even if you do get negative points, more than the amount of points that you have, you can never go below 0, however. Finally, we'll take any tiles from pattern lines that now do not have a rightmost tile and put those in the game box. We'll do the same with the tiles that fell to the floor, except for the starting player tile, in which case we'll place that back into the middle of the table and be the starting player for the next round. In the case that no player has a full horizontal line yet, we'll start a new round. with the first player refreshing the factory displays as in setup. We will then continue to take back and forth turns the same way until one player ends the scoring phase with a full horizontal line. If that's the case, the game end triggers and we'll do final scoring, which I'll explain now. We will finish the wall tiling scoring phase as normal, and then we'll go into final game scoring. Additional scoring is explained on the bottom right-hand corner of your player board. This player will gain 2 extra points for each horizontal line they've completed, so 2 extra from this one. Then they'll get 7 extra points for each vertical line they've completed, which is especially difficult in a lot of situations, giving them 7 extra points. And then they'll get 10 extra points for each color that they have all 5 tiles of on the game board, which they were just 1 short of by not being able to complete this third pattern line of yellow. The game ends with the person with the most amount of points being the winner. If it's tied, you'll count the most amount of horizontal lines a player has, and if it's still tied, just enjoy your shared victory. There is a variant of play on the back of the board with gray tiles instead of colored ones. I'll let you explore that by yourself through the rulebook, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, as I'd love to answer them. If you want to help out on Patreon, that's the best way to support the channel, and let me know what you want to see next. Have a great rest of your day. I've been Ethan.